Hello once again, witchy people. I'm back. Because I had this thought in my head about what it is to witch in this new era. Well, it has been a new era, especially since COVID, where everything has been online. What is it to be a witch and to witch? Now. And the more I thought about it, the more down a rabbit hole I went, and the more I couldn't make any sense whatsoever. Because, and this is just how I feel personally, there are many genuine witchy people online, on YouTube, on social media. But there are also an awful lot of wannabes and fakes and people that are in it for the aesthetic more than the actual meaning of it. But what is it to be a witch in this day and age? It's so difficult now. It seems that the more we have had technology to help us make life more simple, we use it to make life so much more complicated. The more we have to make life easier, the more we use it to complicate life. We have opened up the world of witching, and within that we have opened up avenues that we never thought possible. We can explore our heritage much further, and instead of being or doing what makes us comfortable and what comes naturally, we want to extend ourselves into the realms of things that we think we might have done. I mean, for instance, I've got a lot of different heritages within my ancestry. Italian, French, I think there's a bit of Scots in there somewhere, there's a bit of Welsh in there, actually there's quite a lot of Welsh in there. But do I follow a Welsh path or an Italian strega path? No, I don't. And I think a lot of people clutch upon these little bits from their past and their ancestry and their heritage and think, that's what I am, that's part of who I am. And yes, it does make you part of who you are. But whereas before you'd have to go somewhere and meet people and know a lot about your heritage, now you just type onto a keyboard and everything's there for you. Sometimes at a cost, but it is there. Stop staring at the cat. She doesn't want you to stare at her. I'm trying to be so professional and it's never going to happen. Leave her alone. So, we order herbs and strange things from what would have been once strange lands to us. And we use these in our practice the way other people, the people of whatever land or whatever place that you got these herbs and stuff from, we use those, their rules, because for many of us that's what we believe. And when we try to put them into our own path, sometimes they don't work. And instead of just thinking why they might not work, we persevere or we change our practice. So to be a witch in this day and age, I think we have made it very difficult for ourselves in many ways. Yes, it's easy to connect, but on that level, it's also very easy to clutter your practice and just make it very nonsensical in some ways. I mean, I was looking through my herb cabinet, and for the most part, there is a lot there. Most of it is what's been collected myself, so my herb cabinet is that direction. And a lot of it is my own, or what I've grown, or what I've sourced locally. But there are some things in my herb cabinet that have nothing to do with me. They are someone sent me a snake skin, which would be fair and good if it was an adder, but it wasn't. I think it's came from abroad, or maybe from a foreign snake that, you know, that shed its skin and it was someone's pet. Who knows? And whereas I can use cobwebs and, sounds weird, dead insects, you know, when you find sort of like spiders, the almost the shell of spiders, or a wasp or a bee on your windowsill, things like that, I use it. Moths are incredibly useful. I don't kill anything, but if I find it, I'll use it. My cat's whiskers, that was another one. I probably won't even be able to see it, but my cats occasionally shed their whiskers. Can you see? So yes, it's my cat whisker, and occasionally I will use it. And it's things like that. And I think this all came about because where things have changed so drastically for me over the past almost a year now, I've discarded a lot. I haven't practiced as I should and as I'd like to. But it's made me see things in a different way, in that I have a lot of surplus and things that I would never use. But also, from being here, my own fire pit ash I can use now. And when a lot of wood goes into, it's not just from our apple tree or our camellia or our fir. It's not just that. It's things like when we've done work in the house, we've had leftover bits of wood, or we've torn down bits of the house and had to redo them. We've saved those bits of wood, and they've got old nails in. So the old nails have been cleansed through the fire, and then we have them, you know. And it's little things like that. It's learning. It's going back to basics, and not having the time to be online has made me realise how much maybe I do rely on the internet rather than my own resources that are easily available. You know, I have books. I have my grimoire, the book, as we call it. You know, and I can say a lot about aesthetics and everything else, that people are in it for the aesthetics. And if you see what I mean, there's an awful lot of bits. But that is an aesthetic choice. It is a decor choice. And there we go. The sun's not so bright there. But, you know, I don't use those within my practice. It just makes this room a bit more comfortable for me. And, you know, along with that, I've got an awful lot of crows and ravens and hares. That's my thing. I love woodland animals, and I love crows and ravens. And I have been within myself trying to get much more down to my roots. And it's been, like I said, it's been difficult. So I'm a very crafty witch. I love to craft. I love to make things. I haven't been able to do that as much as I'd like. I've got a wonderful craft shed at the end of the garden. It's huge. It has everything in it. It has most of my store is in there, as in my shop. Everything I need to make anything is in there, except for a few little electrical things that are in this room. And I haven't been able to get there to craft, which has stopped me in a lot of ways from being the witch I want to be. But in other ways, it's made me stop and think, well, I can't get out of the house, not even to the end of the garden, because I can't leave until there's someone else here. I can't leave the house. So what have I got around me? What do I go back to witch? And I've done an awful lot of cookery, awful lot of cookery I've made because we had the apple tree. So all throughout, and it did start rather early and go on quite a lot this year. We've only just finished the apples. I had a bit of a disaster, I'm afraid, in saving the apples. There's an apple store at the top of the larder in the kitchen, and I wrapped them in newspaper and I set them all out, and they didn't make it, and I don't know why. I should go back to what my nan used to do, I think. So my nan used to put her apples in old pairs of tights and stockings and tie knots in between the apples up the stocking legs and then hang that on the tree all through the winter. And it, you know, they were fine. Which I think is lovely. And I put them in, so I haven't checked those yet, but the ones in the Apple store did not save at all, which is a shame. But bearing in mind, I've got over 70 jars of product from the apples and the rhubarb that we grow. But that took me right down to basics. That took me right back to using apples within my craft and saving the seeds and cutting them a certain way so that I could either have it from top to bottom or cut it through the middle and have the pentacle, the star in the middle of the apple. So I think for me, modern witching is not modern any longer. I'm going back to something that really is taking all the modern conveniences out of my practice. And maybe just, I mean, I'm still going to be obviously online. I know there's me talking about sort of like how some people on social media are fake and all the rest of it. Not fake. That's the wrong word, and it's a cruel thing to say. Not fake, but using the aesthetics of witchcraft rather than witchcraft, and putting forward an image. You have a whole load, I have to say this, witches of Instagram. There are a lot of them. And for the most part, I find them offensive. That's my door. Back again. Yeah, that put me right off my stroke, didn't it? So, yes, I'm leaving out some of the conveniences. But as I was saying, real witches of Instagram, if you go and look at them, there are a lot of women dressed up in witch costumes. They're not witch apparel. They're sexy witch costumes draped over logs and out in the middle of the grass and everything. And it's not... They might be witches, fair enough, or they might feel they're witches. But please don't say, I'm a witch of Instagram, just so you can dress up in a certain outfit and think you can turn people on. Because that's what it feels like it is. But then there are the real witches of Instagram. And I like those much better. Because they seem more real. Now that may be a generalisation that is wrong. But I'm only saying what I see. You see these people on... I really don't like Instagram. I don't like TikTok. I don't like Instagram. But you see these people dressing up and, like I said, draping themselves along logs. Like, hey, look at me, I'm a witch. And it's... Please. And if you look through their posts, it is just pictures like that. There is nothing on there which shows them doing anything else. And fair enough, there's not a lot of witchy stuff on my posts. But I'm not... I don't tag myself as a witch on Instagram unless I think it's a witchy post. Thank you, Barclay. And I think what it's doing is it's muddying the waters for a lot of people who do feel like they have that paganistic soul, that witchy soul, or pagan background in their soul that they want to come out, and they go on and they search for people, or let me search for witches in Instagram or on YouTube or any other platform. And the same as in a lot of things within life, you feel like you can't be like those people are. You know, you have some people that are very witchy indeed, who have these beautiful little cottages in the middle of nowhere, and they have these lovely tables, you know, like wood tables where they put all their herbs on. It's all very aesthetically beautiful and pleasing. And yes, they are witching and they are doing witchcraft, but it's not something that a lot of us have. A lot of us don't have the luxury of having the space and the tools and the time to do that sort of thing. Not in that way, you know, where you're all floaty dresses and flowers in your hair, and I would love to do all that. I just haven't got the time or the tools or the inclination, to be honest. But we are muddying the waters, a lot of us, for people who are stepping into the craft and are trying to find their way, because we're making it so complicated for them. But as I said at the beginning, we are making it complicated for ourselves. So I don't like that in some ways being a witch, specifically being a witch, not a pagan or anything else, but specifically a witch, is becoming more and more a phase, a fad, an aesthetic leaning rather than a spiritual practice. And well, okay, fine, there's nothing wrong with it, I guess. But, you know, if you want to dress up as a witch and it is like cosplay, then do it. Do it. But please don't call yourself a witch. And if you want to, you know, get yourself really deeply rooted within witchcraft, go back to your roots. Go back to your roots. Go back to what calls to your soul, you know, and what you have around you. Don't make it harder, because I think we do. As I said, the conveniences that we use, in my opinion, are making it in many ways very inconvenient, because we're not practicing. I'm not practicing, let me put it that way. I know a lot of people still do. But are we being true to ourselves? And that's what I've come to realise in the last almost a year since I chose to move. Which is weird, because I said I'd never move again, and now I might be moving again. More on that another day. Yes, so that was it. Just my thoughts on what is it to witch in this day and age. Like I said, because we get so many messages and information from so many different places, and is it really too much? It's an information overload which makes us, it muddies our practice. It stops us taking it down to basics. And I think that's why a lot of people give up on, oh, who was it? Lady Gravedigger? Lady Grave Dancer. Lady Grave Dancer. Gravedigger. I'm sorry. Lady Grave Dancer. Many moons ago, did a post about witches who don't witch. And I think she made some very salient points within that video. So if you look at it, Lady Grave Dancer, witches who don't witch, do a search for that on YouTube. It's really, really interesting. And you can be a witch and not witch. In other words, you can be a witch and not practice all the time and rely on spellcraft and such like. But I think we are bombarding ourselves with so much now that it's just, I can't witch because there's too much to it, and it should be simple. It should be easy for the most part. I'm not saying that it doesn't drain your energy And, you know, but we're making it complicated. That's just what I believe. And I think that's why sometimes witches don't witch, is because we're putting so much into the mix. We're putting so many choices to the point where you can't make the choices anymore because there's just too many of them. And we need to get back to basics. This is just my opinion. I'm sure there are others, many others, who would disagree with me. If you're going to make a comment, be nice, okay? Because it gets really annoying trying to delete nasty comments, or just sometimes you see the nasty comments and it's quite funny. But as I said, what is it to witch in this day and age? And what it is difficult, but it shouldn't be. And for me, that is to pare back. I like YouTube channels. I like YouTube channels because they give you an idea how other people practice, and in the ways that some other people practiced, you might think that would make it easier for me. Not the things that they use, but the way in which they use things and the way in which they think, and sort of sort through simple things like what a rope ladder, you know, and a knot magic might mean to one person will be something completely different to others. I know people that will burn the knots and people who don't burn the knots, and, you know, all sorts of things. And I think it's good that you have other people to draw the inspiration from. It's almost like having an art, you know, when you see an artist or a crafter do something, you can draw inspiration from it, but you don't copy it exactly because you might not have the right things. Same goes for witchcraft and the way you witch. Did I say itch? The way you witch. Do what you can with what you have and what feels right to your soul. And it's all to do with what feels right and how you... If something is slightly off and you're not practicing in a way that lets your energy flow freely, and you're tangling up this energy with all these things that you don't need to, it's not going to work, and it's going to make it so frustrating. You need to, I need to, when I say you or we, what I really mean is I need to take inspiration, but then use my own soul and heart and feelings and intuition. What is it to witch in this day and age? Like I say, it's difficult because we have made it hard for ourselves in trying to make it easy. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, witchy people. I'll be back as soon as I can be. Bye for now.